So let's talk about ink now. As you can see, there are a lot of inks to choose from, and it's kind of, confusing in the beginning. But for inking, the best ones are what's called waterproof India ink. There are two types of inks, black inks. This one's water soluble, and this one's water resistant. So usually it comes usually when it says India ink or Indian ink, it's waterproof, but Winsor & Newton has the water soluble ones as well. I personally use water resistant ink because I drink a lot of tea while I draw, and sometimes whoops, this happens, but nothing happens on the drawing. I have to be honest, that happens, it's life. And so just to be safe, I use water resistant ink. This is actually the ink I use, my favorite. There are a lot of inks, so you can try out different ones according to your taste. And some of them are expensive, but like nothing go over $10. So maybe you want to pick up a few and try. That's a good way to go. This is my choice. I've used it for years. I tried out different ones, and this has the best consistency. It's not too dark, it's not too light, it's not too gooey, it's not too liquidy. This one, Dr. P.H. Martin's Black Star Matte. This one is my choice. Let me show you quickly the Japanese inks. It's called bokuju in Japanese. A lot of the manga artists use this traditional Japanese ink. So, and they're relatively inexpensive. It's like thick and dark and nice. The only reason why I don't use it is Japanese sumi ink is usually water soluble. And again, I drank a lot of tea, so it's a little bit dangerous, so I don't use it, but it's a nice option, nice lines, nice thick black color, and relatively inexpensive. So one's water resistant and one's not, but it doesn't mean you can't mix them with water. Like this one, you can't mix them with water. If you want to do ink wash, you can use either one of them. It's fine. Water resistance just means, say, if you finish drawing and it's dry and you accidentally drop water on top of it, it won't run. This will run. So sometimes people intentionally use this to add water on top of the finish line and like let it run and come out with nice texture. So it's just a matter of preference. We came to the paper pad section because, we're always thinking about the least budget option. You can go up from here, but easiest to pick up are the pads. What I suggest you to use in the beginning is Bristol pads. And Bristol pads usually come with two different finishes. One's called vellum, that has a little bit of texture, and one's called smooth. It's like super smooth. So what you might want to do is go to art supply store and touch them and see how you feel. You touch them, you feel it right away. I'm not looking at the pad. I know which one's smooth and I know which one's vellum just by touching. So for my personal taste, smooth is a little bit too slick. The brush slips for me. But then some people don't like the feeling of brush getting stuck in the vellum surface, so they prefer smooth. Watercolor paper. Watercolor paper, it's a lot more rough, and the lines might not come out as perfect, but what's good is that because it's made for watercolors, it absorbs the water quickly. So there's a lot less mistakes of like, whoops, I run my hand over the line I just drew. That doesn't happen often with watercolor because it absorbs the water pretty quickly and well. I personally like the imperfect line, so I use watercolor paper. I can show you the exact paper I use in my studio. I don't actually use the pad, but these pads are like really good options. And just because we're at the art supply store, I didn't know, but like nowadays they make paper for comic books. So it even have lines, if you're comic artist, it's like a good surface to use. It already has borders. I've never seen this before. I've seen these in Japan, but I didn't know they sell it here too. So this is a nice option if you're a cartoonist and you don't want to spend time measuring the size of the frames. It's already there for you. So there are all these options. And what I want to add is I want you to always draw on the right side of the paper. Right side of the paper is the top side. And you can kind of like, in the beginning, you don't know. But once you really see the back and front, you start learning which side is front, which side is back. What's good about the pad is front is always on the top, so you won't make mistakes even if you don't know how to read the front and back of the paper. Some papers, back and front are the same. Some papers is different. For example, this bristle pad, I can see back and front are definitely different, and it's better to draw on the front. However, it's not that you can't draw on the back, it's just the ink stays better on the front. But as long as you pick thick enough paper and dense enough paper, you can also draw on the back. Also, one more thing to add, please pick the paper that's thicker than certain thickness, because it's water medium. If you use super thin paper, it just runs through to the back. It's not pretty, your lines not come out well, and the paper becomes wobbly. So that's not going to happen with paper this thickness. Let's see. This is 100 pounds, 260 grams. That's a really nice starting thickness of the paper. So let's quickly pick up a pencil before we go back to the studio and start drawing. Always HB. And I'll explain more when we're doing the drawing. But HB is great because it's not too dark, it's not too light, it erases well. So when I do underdrawing for inking, I always use HB. So I have tons of HB pencils in my studio. So this is what I recommend you to get. So this is called brush cleaner and preserver. I'm shooting this now because they are out of it in the store, but I highly recommend you to buy it. What it is a brush cleaner in this like solid form, and I'll show you how I use it. And this keeps your brush last much longer, and I always have it. Never draw without it, so I hope you buy one too.